You want to try again?
Sure.
I am Peggy Ward, and I'm going to share. I'm going to continue the Lenten Devotional series, and I'm going to read and talk about Luke 22, verses 47 through 48. It is the night of his arrest. Okay, so I'm going to begin by reading in verses 47 and through 48. And while he was still speaking, behold, a multitude, and he who was called Judas, one of the 12, went before them, drew near to Jesus to kiss him. But Jesus said to him, Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? So, to just kind of jump into this, what does the passage say to me? I'm just going to kind of jump and draw attention to the multitude was coming. So the multitude was coming to capture Jesus. This kind of indicates a mindset of fear, perhaps. There was a lot of Jewish leaders, Roman soldiers, and they're coming in the night. And so they're here to capture a dangerous person, a dangerous man. They're on a mission. And they were very angry with Jesus. They were fearful of his influence on them. And so they had tried before, and Jesus had always escaped because it was not yet his time. And so in this particular passage, they're going to make it happen. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so it was nighttime, and they're seeing by torchlight. So I'm sure Jesus looked a lot like regular Jews, all the Jews of the time. So someone needed to identify him to this mob. And so at that point, his very own disciple, Judas Iscariot, who was leading the multitude, he walked up and, of course, kissed Jesus. It was a very horrible, ugly act of betrayal. At the time, a kiss was intended to portray affection, respect, and honor of a disciple to his master, but in this case, we know that was all a facade. Judas had an agenda, and it was just to identify Jesus as the one they wanted. This is the one they wanted to kill. And Jesus was not deceived by the kiss. He knew it was coming. He wasn't shocked or surprised that Judas would do this. He had already said several hours earlier in the night, he had told Judas, or he had told the disciples, he said, woe unto the one who will betray me. So at that point, it was not a threat. It was, I believe, a warning of sorts. I think he loved Judas from the very, very depths of his heart. And he wanted to give Judas an opportunity to perhaps not do the thing that he was going to do. Jesus was going to die on the cross. That was a fact. That was what he was coming to do. But Judas did not have to be a part of that story. So he was going to give himself up willingly. There was no need for a multitude, and there was no need for Judas to betray him. Yet we know God uses the good things and the bad things to accomplish his will.
It didn't have to be Judas, but it had to be somebody.
It had to be somebody. It did not have to be Judas, I do not believe. God foreknew, I don't doubt that for a second, but I do believe Judas had full autonomy. He had full decision-making powers. But he had given himself over to evil in whatever manner, and so I believe he was acting of his own volition at that point. Go forward, I want to kind of respond, focus on Jesus' response to Judas by reading in a different passage. If we read that same thing in Matthew 26, verses 47 through 49, we get a little bit of a different perspective of Jesus' response to Judas. So it says, he, Judas, went up to Jesus and said, greetings, Rabbi, and he kissed him. And then Jesus said to him, friend, why have you come? So that last piece kind of bears repeating, friend, why have you come? And so Jesus knew Judas's heart. He knew Judas was selling him out for unimaginable pain, mockery, suffering. And he knew Judas's end story too. And I believe that Jesus was probably more concerned about what was happening with Judas even than he was concerned for himself. It's just a perspective of mine because Jesus knew he was going to the cross. I believe he was giving Judas one last opportunity to repent and to turn away, but Judas did not accept that invitation. So what I want to take away from this are three things, and the first being fear, greed, power, make people do really bad things, make bad decisions. And even though Judas walked and talked with Jesus intimately, he had seen his miracles, he had seen Jesus' heart, he still betrayed him. And he was just a man. I'm just a woman. I think this calls me to be ever diligent on my own journey with the Lord. And I must constantly pray often, Lord, search me and know my heart and see if there's any wicked way in me, and then lead me in the way of everlasting life. Because I do think Judas was no different from me in his walk on this earth. And second, Jesus loved Judas despite that evil in his heart. He called him friend. Likewise, I think even in my ugliest moments, I am also a friend of the Lord's. I think he is always calling me. He's always pursuing me. He knows what my future holds. He knows what my decisions are he knows my end stories. And he's always calling me. And then lastly, as a big takeaway, just looking at how Jesus handled Judas, I think using that as a role model, I believe it is possible for me to love and trust others who betray me, just like I believe Jesus loved Judas. So, big takeaways. I know that test will reveal in time if I would actually do that or not, but I do believe that what Jesus did, he did in the flesh, and I know that he set the standard for what I can do in my flesh.